It's over for Ukraine, and every day that we don't realize that, people are dying, and yet President Biden was planning to make Ukraine a key part of the State of the Union this week. We know this because he invited these two ladies. The one in the green is Ukrainian First Lady Elena Zelenska, and the one in black and white is the widow of Alexei Navalny. Her name is Yulia Navalny. And they both were invited to the State of the Union, and the Washington Post today is reporting that both of them have declined. The president's office of Ukraine said that the first lady didn't really decline as much as she had a scheduling conflict because she was scheduled to visit orphans, of course. Now, take a look. I know, hang on. Take a look at the statement. The Embassy of Ukraine in the United States has indeed recently received an invitation for the First Lady of Ukraine to attend the U.S. President's speech in Congress on 7 March. However, due to events added to the schedule earlier, including a visit to Kiev by orphans, unfortunately, the First Lady will not be able to attend. Now, I'm just wondering, do orphans have a super busy schedule they can't reschedule if the President of the United States, like if it were really important, you would think, I mean, I don't know, right?
Let me tell you this. If you want money, you want tens of billions of dollars.
You show up.
You show up to the State of the Union address when the President of the United States asks you to come as a special guest for the State of the Union address. This will be the last State of the Union address for President Biden ever, right? So this will be his final State of the Union address.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to win. So this is his final one. You come because you need tens of billions of dollars. But I love that. I'm going to use that excuse from now on. Can't come. I'm visiting orphanages this afternoon.
Now, of all the kinds of people in the world, I would think they would be one of the most flexible to reschedule things if you're orphans. I don't know. Maybe orphans are super busy these days.
I guess because, if we think her husband was responsible for their orphanaging, they've become orphans probably as a result of their husband, of her husband, right? We've had over 500,000 killed now in Ukraine thanks to her husband. So maybe she feels compelled to go and visit those individuals. Right. Perhaps. Maybe that's just an idea.
Now over to Alexei Navalny's widow. Her name is Navalny. She said, I would love to come, but I've been traveling a lot lately after the death of my husband, and I'm really tired. So I just got home, and it's basically I've already taken my bra off. I can't come. I would have, but once the bra is off, I cannot leave the house again. Now, the fact that the White House wanted the two ladies to sit together shows how... It's not a sexual innuendo. When you get home and you take your bra off, you're not leaving again. That's what that means. Okay. Your day's over. I'm not putting it back on and going back out of the house. Did that not land, you guys?
It landed.
Did you not?
It landed for me.
My socks. I know that. When I take my socks off, I'm not leaving. So,
okay.
Same thing.
That was not a come on, darling.
I see everything that way. Okay. So I'm like, it's good for me.
All right. In the chat, I apologize if that came off as a sexual reference. I didn't mean that. I just meant I'm in for the night. I've unbuttoned my pants. Again, no. Clayton.
Stop while you're ahead.
All right. The fact that the White House wanted these two ladies to sit together just shows how little the U.S. knows or cares about Russian or Ukrainian politics. Sure, both of their husbands either see or saw Putin as an enemy, but that does not mean they are on the same side. They just know, the White House knows that most Americans don't know that. So they wanted the optics. Now, just a reminder, Navalny supported the annexation of Crimea and was decidedly not pro-Ukraine. He also was aligned with extremists, race extremists, and Olena Zelenska probably wants to avoid looking like that is her platform too, or she supports it. So yeah, she chooses the orphans over the three branches of U.S. government, probably a better bet. Now, another lady ditching Ukraine is Victoria Nuland, lead dementor at the State Department. Her official title was U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. You know how I feel about her, but I would like to posit that some of the conversation about her is a little bit sexist. This is not me defending Victoria Nuland. I cannot do this. But take a look at some of this type of information that's been running around on Twitter, that when she first entered government and when she left, and how she just looks evil.
Evil transformed you, it says, yeah.
Yeah, I just bring this out because I'm a little uncomfortable with the appearance jokes that hint that middle-aged women look evil. I don't know. Is that like a hit at middle-agedness, or is that just her? Do we care to discuss that?
I don't care to discuss that. She is an evil demon that I hope, those images represent demonhood. Like she's grown.
She's probably still was a demon when she was young. Like, or did she become demon? I don't know. I just was wondering if that's a little bit of hag baiting. And you guys discuss amongst yourself.
It's fair. Okay. As a woman, you can say that. I don't know. I think she's a demon, and I think that that's what evil does to you. I mean, her whole soul has been sucked out of her. She's given her life over to the death and destruction of other human beings.
Yes.
So I would think that's you turn into Voldemort. As she's
Horcruxed herself into an ugly soul.
Exactly.
Yes.
She's a Dementor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here is Glenn Greenwald giving a synopsis of her how she just failed up in her political career. It's almost like a linear equation that more deaths equaled more promotions for her. Watch.
Just imagine you are one of the leading advocates for the war in Iraq, promising that there's all this success in the war in Afghanistan, and then demanding NATO be expanded into Eastern Europe up to the border, including Ukraine, and be used as a tool for regime change operations, including in Libya. You have all these bloody disasters on your plate. And American public opinion is against all of them. You would think somebody's reputation and credibility in Washington would be crippled as a result of advocating so many destructive policies that resulted in the deaths of so many people unnecessarily for reasons that completely backfired on American interests as they were defined at the time. But that's not how Washington works, ever. Jeffrey Goldberg got caught spreading crucial lies using the pages of The New Yorker, promoting the idea that Saddam Hussein was in alliance with al-Qaeda, which led 70% of Americans to conclude that Saddam Hussein had participated in the 9/11 attacks, which got them to justify and support the invasion of Iraq. He got journalism awards for spreading that lie on behalf of the U.S. security state. And as we know, he now occupies the position of editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And he also just got promoted by having a PBS show given to him that has long been called Washington Week. So he's advanced. The more he's lied, the more bloody wars Victoria Nuland is involving herself in and advocating and cheering and justifying, the more she advances in bipartisan Washington. It doesn't matter. You could have gone to the polls in 2008 and voted for John McCain. You could have gone to the polls and voted for Barack Obama. And Victoria Nuland would have ended up running things for the State Department. Not only despite all these things she did, but precisely because of them.
Yeah. Tank Reeves in the chat, thank you for your super chat, says she is Darth Nuland. Now, Ukraine had been her baby. This was Nuland's war. Not only did she have a part in the overthrow of the government in 2014, which we're going to look at in a second, but she was just there at the end of January trying to, again, drum up support, telling them that the U.S. would continue to give them weapons. She's the one who installed the puppet government in Ukraine after the coup in 2014. Now, there was a leaked phone call of her planning this where she said, F word the EU, not F word, but the real F word. And she proceeded to talk to the U.S. ambassador in Ukraine about, hey, we're going to change this government and we're going to do it our way. Europe will not be involved. Here's how we should do it. I remind you of this audio by playing it for you right now.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week, you know. I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
there is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities, while Nuland refers to getting the United Nations involved in a political solution. And that's where the unfortunate comment arises.
I'm obviously not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations, other than to say it was pretty impressive tradecraft. The audio was extremely clear.
It was so good. It was a good recording. How'd they get that?
So, I mean, and she basically, points out exactly that it was spot on and it was accurate. Mm-hmm. It was crystal clear. Yeah. So somebody absolutely recorded it.
Right.
And of course, she had to later apologize. She had to apologize to Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany, for saying F the EU.
Yes. And, she is the one who's been telling us that they're supporting democracy in Ukraine. Well, she is single-handedly voting for who gets to be president there. That's not a democracy. She shouldn't get to choose. That's overthrowing foreign governments. You are not supposed to do that. And how has that gone for us? Well, we got a pro-Western Ukrainian government that continued to attack the Donbas region, even though we had an agreement that they wouldn't. We never bothered to stop them. That led to the war that we are in now, and people are dying. And here's another sign that things are not going great in Ukraine, and maybe we should stop funding this war. All of our stuff is being blown up. Take a look at this. This is an M1 Abrams tank sent to Ukraine by the U.S. This is in Russian Donbas area, and Russia says they blew it up this week. And RIA, which is Russian state media, released this footage. We paid for that. Up in smoke. Okay. It's not fun to see that, knowing your tax dollars have paid for it and elected representatives want to send more. So here is another video of U.S. HIMARS being destroyed on the battlefield. Again, this is in Donbas. Now, the music here is a little bloodlusty for my taste, or maybe we're not going to.
I pulled the music. I pulled the music.
Okay, we're not going to because it's a little like
heavy metal,
Top Gun-ish, sort of glorifying this, and so great. Okay, I don't have to make excuses for that. Now, again, this is all stuff that our politicians are saying we need more. But Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, is making the good point that this is good news for the U.S. economy, because if they blow it up, we make money selling more. He says this is an economic bonanza. He says these investments have expanded facilities and created jobs for American workers, and the weapons that we've sent to Ukraine to help defend itself are made in America by American workers nationwide, from Texas to Ohio to Arizona. So giddy up. And one other indication that the war is looking hopeless for Ukraine, they are striking inside Russia where the war is not. Take a look at this. Ukraine has launched several drone raids targeting facilities in Russia's 3 regions that are well above the battlefield. So what you're looking at, again, if we could just keep this up for a long time, the Donbas region from the dark gray line over to the end of the red line is the contested region. Those are regions where the mayors asked Russia to come in and defend them from continuous attacks from the Ukrainian army in 2022. And Russia voted to comply with those requests. And that's when the West tells us that they came in for an unprovoked invasion, which it was not. And so the battle lines there are where the red begins. So you see all of those sort of blasts in blue, yellow, and red. That's indicating who's blasting who. But then look where Ukraine has been striking. I circled them in red. Way outside battlefield. That's not battlefield territory. They're playing dirty. Why are they doing that? Is because they cannot move that territory back. They can't push Russia back. Those people there don't want it. And if they do succeed at that, then the people who live there will once again be vulnerable to all of those continuous attacks that Victoria Nuland said was just fine. Now, just a few days ago, Florida Senator Marco Rubio said, we've known all along that Ukraine can't win this. I just didn't really want to say it because I was trying to be a company guy, basically. Not before telling lies about Putin's aim to take over all of Ukraine. But watch him admit that, yeah, it's the lost cause.
Sure to do that. Here's what I do know. There is no way that the Russian Federation takes Ukraine, all of Ukraine, half of Ukraine. And that was Putin's goal from the beginning, was to carve it up into at least half the country, including Kyiv. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. On the other side of it, we have the reality of it is that Ukraine is small compared to Russia in terms of size and its ability to bring scale, its ability to force conscript people. So neither kind. This is, I'm just being honest. And you know, in the past, I have tried not to talk about this publicly because I thought it undermined the leverage that Ukraine had. But now it's the reality. Neither side is going to be able to achieve victory as defined in the most idealistic terms.
So brave of you to say that now, after so many people have died. Also, he's lying. Putin's goal was never to take half of Ukraine. It was only in compliance with those mayors of those regions who invited them to come in militarily. Russia is not force conscripting people. Ukraine is doing that. Have you missed that one? But he is telling the truth that Ukraine can't win. And the West should support a peace agreement. That's me saying this. He wouldn't say those words because he's a coward. With the territory that it is now so that no one else has to die. But you know what will eventually die is the star, the media star of Zelensky. This headline and image made me laugh. Zelensky would lose election, according to a poll. It's the image there that makes me chuckle because he's like, who cares? I've outlawed elections anyway. Doesn't matter. That's one of those things, you know. That wasn't a good Zelensky.
Wait a minute.
I'm not good. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the U.S. was spreading democracy there. What? And they canceled elections. Is that the beacon that we're trying to put out there now?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're okay with that.
Yeah, that's democracy.
Now, this pollster SOCIS, S-O-C-I-S, recently had polls showing that Zelensky would lose to General Valery Zelensky. So, you know, but the poll also showed that the majority of Ukrainians, I think it's 65%, did believe that elections should not be held right now during the conflict. That smells super fishy to me. I would think that Ukrainians who see death and destruction around them would really be motivated to vote on this outcome of the war. And change leadership.
I totally trust polls by the Ukrainian government.
Sure. Well, it's not the Ukrainian government. It's a Ukrainian pollster.
I totally trust pollsters from Ukraine.
But I mean, you can't pick and choose. Do you trust that Zelensky would lose an election, or do you trust that they don't want an election?
I don't trust any polls.
You don't trust either parts of those things.
No, he would be destroyed in an election.
Mm-hmm.
He is absolutely reviled in Ukraine. So I don't really give a rat's ass what a poll says, but there's no way that he would win an election. That's why you canceled elections.
Right. And I would think that Ukrainians want a vote now.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
Yeah. Hey, all of our husbands are now dead. So we don't have 2 votes in our house anymore. We have 1. But if we could vote, we would want this war to end right now.
Yeah.
But you're not going to hear that.
Well, yeah, because that 60% number totally negates what they just said. Like, they don't want Zelensky anymore. But you know what? Since we're in this conflict,
but we want him for now.
We want him for now.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, right? But I think that these are cracks in his star because his day as a media darling is ending.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. You know, YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.